oil change on a Mazda CX-9 2016, take 2, with this time with the mic turned on. Hey, it's Kilobyte here, and got the wife's CX-9, got 3,000 miles on it, about to do the first oil change. And a couple things that you'll need to do this. The recommended oil, 530. You can also see on the oil cap 530. And if my camera will focus, cool. You'll, oh, and the quantity is 5.1 US quarts with replacement oil filter. So just enough caused me to buy, wait, there's two 5-quart jugs of 530 oil. You also need an oil filter. It's a common oil filter, so don't be worried about it being a new model and everything. It is a common oil filter. It's actually the same one that goes in the 95 Mazda CX-9 and many other cars. It's a little dinky thing. It does require an 8mm, well, the wrench is underneath, 8mm socket, and for the oil plug, camera focus please, for the oil plug, an 8mm hex socket. If you don't have one, you want to get one, or an 8mm Allen wrench if you can make it pull out an oil plug and tighten it up enough. So those are the things you're going to need. There's nothing underneath the front of this vehicle that I found that you can jack it up with or using. Most will have a brace underneath the engine that you can clearly get a jack under and lift on. There isn't anything like this. So what I did was I've got your normal locations behind the front wheels. I've got it jacked up there on both sides. Underneath, and I will show you when we get there where it is, you will find this panel. This is the inside of it. And there's a side that's underneath on the bottom, that's put it in camera, that you'll see. And like I said, I'll show you where it goes. But this gives you, very conveniently, it's almost like they planned it this way, access to the oil filter and the drain plug on that one panel. Yeah, I mean, they got lucky on that one, just for us. These are the 8mm bolts. It also takes a Phillips head if you really want to use a Phillips head. These go in the front holes, here and here. And you got these pins that go in the back holes. Now the trick on these pins, if you've not dealt with them before, and I hope that this will show up on video, this, when they're in, this inside piece slides down and it separates, it pushes the pins out, and that's what holds it in. To pull it out without stripping it, you take a flathead screwdriver, small flathead screwdriver, put it in, you can see the flat spot on each side where it's all round except for the top and bottom of the inside piece. Stick a small flathead screwdriver in there and then pop the middle out, and that will allow it to be pulled out without stripping it out. Don't worry about, as long as you do that, you're fine, and they are reusable. And if you do mess it up, I mean, they are cheap. You can buy new ones pretty inexpensively. But again, as long as you do it right, you shouldn't have to worry about it. So we got our oil, we got our filter, we got the little cover off, and got my wrenches. Let's crawl underneath this vehicle. All right, so we're underneath the vehicle. See if I can get the camera to focus. And I am slightly to the rider's side, right between the two tires, and as far as depth. And there's where your panel is. You can see this is your oil filter, and it faces up. And there is your your plug. That's the one that takes that 8mm hex. The other thing that I had not mentioned that I did bring is my pan to catch the oil. So what we're going to do, start off, and hopefully you have a general idea how to change oil. Move the pan under, and then we're going to pull the oil plug out. So there you can see that the oil is draining, and I'm sorry about the light. Something else I forgot to mention is a rag, because if you're like me, you pulled the oil plug out and everything's going good until you drop it in the stinking bucket and had to fish it out. So there you go. We're going to let that drain. I will actually go up top and I will pull the oil cap off. And then once this finishes draining, we'll put the oil plug back on it, and then we'll deal with the filter. So the oil has finished dripping. It's empty, and I have put the oil drain plug back in, tightened it. Don't over tighten it. I don't know the torque specs. I hand tighten mine. I don't crank on it, but get it good and snug. Now we move on to the oil filter. I will tell you that it was in really tight from the factory. I had to use a wrench, and be careful of, can I move the camera without messing up stuff? Right here, there's a little wire, comes into a clip and it's attached. Don't knock that when you're trying to use your oil filter wrench. So I've already broke it loose. I have my rag, and there's just not a lot of room to work in here and do a camera. But I've got it loose. It's going to make a mess because the oil filter faces, the opening is up. But I will tell you, I prefer them up because that way the oil is in the filter the whole time. So when you start it, the filter's full. It doesn't have to fill it before it starts sending it to the engine. So see if I can do this. All right, so there it starts spilling out into my pan. And what I do, this is how I do it, I let it finish dripping. I then will take it the rest of the way out and dump it into the pan. Yes, it's messy, but again, it's better for I like them facing the way they are because of it does get the oil flowing quicker because your oil filter is already full. So next step, pulling this thing out. And I will need two hands for that because it's going to be a mess, and I'll need a rag, and then I'll show you what to do with the new one. What we're going to do is you want to put some oil on the rubber gasket that keeps it from binding when you put it on, and that will in turn keep it from leaking. So we're going to go back under the vehicle and put this up in it. All right, hopefully the camera's focusing. You can see where the oil filter goes in there, and just slide it up there, play with it until it starts, turn it till it's tight. And it does have instructions for your filter. Use what's appropriate for your filter. and basically you want it tight, but you don't want it so tight you can't get it back off. So we're back up here, back up top here, and just so you can see, I put a nice clean cloth over the front so I don't scratch it up. I have a rag ready. Got me a couple rags, yeah, old socks, I know. Set in there in case I spill. Got a clean funnel, clean inside and outside. Cap is off, obviously. This is in. I got my choice of 530 oil that I'm going to put in. It takes 5.1 quarts with oil filter change, which I did. So theoretically, I should be able to pour in this 5 US quart jug, the whole thing in, and still have 0.1 room before it is at the full mark. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. So I have poured the whole 5 quarts in. That's on into the funnel that's in the right cup holder with the oil cap removed. I have pulled the dipstick out of the left cup holder and wiped it off with my rag, and it's right here. And you can see, okay, hopefully you can see that. 2 holes. One is the minimum, the one by my thumb, that's the bottom one. That is the minimum. If your oil is not up to that, you don't have enough oil and you're going to damage your engine. This hole here, the top one, that is your maximum. If you are over that, you have too much oil, so keep it between the 2 dots, the 2 holes. Ideally, theoretically I should say, with putting 5 quarts in on a 5.1 quart capacity filter, it should be just below that top hole, which means you should be fine. And that's one thing we'll test right now. Okay, hopefully this will show, and you can see the wet area on the dipstick is where the oil is, and it's just below the full, which tells me, hey, guess what, 5 quarts worked out fine. Obviously you want to check your oil every once in a while. I recommend every 1,000 miles. Make sure that it's not below the low mark, and just takes a couple minutes. And that way, if your oil does drop below it, you're not going to find out by having it blow up on you on the side of the road. So anyway, it looks like we're good. Next step is I'm going to wipe that oil off, put the dipstick back in the left cup holder, remove the funnel, put the oil cap back on. That way everything's tight, except we're still up on the jack stands for safety, and the panel is still off because I'm going to start it and I'm going to run it. I'm going to let it get up to operating temperature, then I'm going to check underneath for leaks. If there are no leaks, we'll put the panel back on, lower it, and we are golden. Alright, I'm in the car. I have started it. A couple things. One, 3,206 miles. No problems. Run well. But the key is right there, but where it see on the tack where it says times 1000 R/min, the rotations per minute, there is an oil indicator light. When you first start it, all those lights are on, so you can see that they're actually working, but they should all go out. Watch that light. If the oil light does not go out, you need to turn it off immediately because you did something wrong. You either forgot to put the oil in, most likely issue, or you forgot to put the drain plug or filter on and it all leaked out the bottom when you were filling it up at the top. It happens. I hope not. Anyway, so yeah, just be sure to check that. So now I'm going to crawl up under it and use my hands make sure that there's no oil on the filter or around the plug to indicate a leak. So this is that panel. It slides in here like so. I have went ahead and started the 8mm / Phillips head bolts, screws in so that it hold up, so I can show you these clips. You see how the middle is still pulled down. I'm going to push that up. I'm going to slide it in, but what I'm using the outside. Focus on what I want you to focus. And then pushing that up, the middle in. All right. So now I'll take the other one. Same thing. Push the panel up. Put all the prongs in. Push up in the middle. Not middle. The wider one, and then push the middle piece in, and you'll hear it snap. It's now up there. Now all I gotta do is lightly tighten the 8mm. Again, don't over tighten them, don't strip them out, and then drop it off the jacks, and we'll be good. Panel's back on. It's down on the ground, and no leaks, no drips, no runs. And so what I'll do is let it sit for a little bit. I will then recheck the oil level, verify that it's still where it's supposed to be, which, you know, obviously it should be, but just to be safe. And then I will take the old oil, put the old oil in the that 5-quart jug, take it back to the auto parts place, deal with the old oil filter appropriately, and I got to put my filter wrench back up, but there you go. That's all there is to it. It's not bad. It's actually one of the easier ones, except that there's no place to jack it up on the front. You got to do it behind the front wheels, but you know, that's pretty minor, especially if you got 2 floor jacks. And there you go. So hope this is helpful. If so, please like, comment, subscribe, and take it easy.